What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bridging the Geekdoms. I'm your host, Robert Slavinsky, and yeah, I mean, for a lot of people right now, it is a somber day in the DCU world fan base. I planned on coming on here and actually discussing the Patty Jenkins debacle from the other day. And maybe I will talk a little bit about that. But last night we got some pretty massive news that has blown up the internet, has blown up Twitter, has blown up everything that you could possibly think of when it comes to DC fandom. And it is disappointing. It is upset that this had to happen. But again, it had to happen. This is something that if they didn't go this direction, there was no other option. There, you could only go in this direction. And despite and regardless of how much we all want to sit there and try and act and believe that there was another way to go, there wasn't. But I hope that people join watching live, discuss everything going on. We got Derpy 501st. Hey man, what's going on, Derpy 501st? Yeah, we're here. We're going to be talking about the latest news on Superman. Henry Cavill being ousted. He's gone. He's no longer Superman. He came out and made a comment himself, and James Gunn came out and made a comment. And yeah, we have to see, or we don't have to see, but I want to discuss. I want to talk to people about all this. Derby 501st, exactly. This is the only direction and option James Gunn could do since Cavill is 39. Yeah, I mean that's part of why, absolutely. And I'm not going to say that it isn't. I'm not going to say that's the only reason, because there's so much more that goes on, or that has gone on to make what happened the only route for them to take. And we'll get into that. We will definitely get into that. But I do want to pull up James Gunn's tweet, because this is where everybody is freaking out. So let me pull up his tweet here. And I got a couple of tweets here that I actually really want to go over that I thought were pretty cool from the past couple days. So James Gunn last night, 8:49 p.m. last night, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go. Now, this is me believing, I guess obviously he and Peter had to have met with Zaslav. If he's going this far to discuss what's happening, that they have a slate, that Henry Cavill is no longer part of the DCU moving forward, there's obviously no more meetings that need to be held to get approval. So what is going on from this point forward is the approval of David Zaslav. That's another thing that people need to remember. But he says, which we could not be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year, which is really shocking to me that they're going to go and start giving us information at the beginning of the new year. Obviously, it doesn't mean January 1st they're going to come out and announce 35 projects or anything like that. But I really, truly think that we're going to see, probably by February, we're going to have probably 3-4 films or projects lined up for 2023 and beyond, or 2024 and beyond, I should say. Let's see. We got Hunter Iggy, BridgingTheGeekdoms. What's up? What's going on, Hunter Iggy? Yeah, let us know your thoughts on the Superman stuff. What's going on with Henry Cavill no longer being Superman? What you think about James Gunn and the direction that he's taken? That's what we're talking about here. Derpy 501st, as DC fan at this point, we deserve something similar to the MCU. If it's the formula or phases, so be it. At this point, if it's the only route that works. You're right. As a DC fan, we've been fans of this current / new DCU since 2013, when Man of Steel came out, and then we were promised that we were going to be getting a whole slate of films that a handful of them came out and a lot of them didn't. We deserve to get that universe that we want. Granted, a lot of people have different ideas on how that should be accomplished. There's a lot of people who think, yeah, we should go the Marvel route, or there's some people who think, no, we got to stay as far away from the Marvel route. The fact of the matter is, right now, David Zaslav has stated publicly that he wants to capitalize on that success that Marvel had, and I really believe that going this direction is going to do that. Derpy continues with James Gunn. I think that's what he's going to do, but have video games, shows, and animation evolved as the 10-year plan, which will make it different and unique, which is why I'm excited about his vision. Couldn't say it better, man. Could not say it better. Back over to James Gunn's Twitter thread from last night. After he talks about that they're going to announce projects at the beginning of the year, he says among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. Yeah, that's crazy. That he came out and said that. Obviously, Henry Cavill came out on Instagram and said, look, despite what we did last month or a month ago, I'm no longer Superman. And he's devastated. He's hurt. I mean, he loved the character. Absolutely. But we have to understand that James Gunn was brought in to build a universe, to build something that is going to be successful financially. Not saying what Henry Cavill did was not successful. Not saying the universe wasn't successful. In a way, all of that was. But as Derpy pointed out just a little bit ago, Cavill's 40 years old, nearly 40 years old. They want to make a 10-year plan, and they want to get a lot of Superman stories in over the course of that 10 years, I'm sure. Having a 40, 50-year-old Superman is not really going to do that. So that is a big part of that. Hunter says, Bridging the Geekdoms, here's my fan casting for Superman. David Crensweat and Batman Richard Madden and Aquaman Glenn Powell. I like Richard Madden. I really do like Richard Madden. I think he has a similar kind of presence that Henry Cavill has. So I think Richard Madden would actually be a really good Superman personally. But yeah, I mean, this is the fun part. This is where we have to get excited and start speculating is what are these fan castings? Because for me, that's one of the most fun things to do is to speculate, to just have discussions with fans about what we could possibly see and get. We haven't been able to do that as DC fans for a number of years in any real capacity because a decent portion of the fan base has solely wanted one thing, the Snyderverse. And there was not much speculation there because Zack kind of laid out the plans. Yeah, there would be some small changes and intricacies that are not the same as what he laid out, but there wasn't much speculation to go on there. And when it comes to what Hamada was building, we have no idea what the hell he was building. They were so tight-lipped on everything there that we couldn't even begin to speculate. So this is exciting. This is the fun part of being a DC fan, and we have to embrace that so we can get excited. Derpy, the question is, will WB stay legit to this plan or butt in what Snyderverse did? See, James Gunn has better chance at success because he understands the character and tone. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Snyder understood the characters, but he had his own take and his own version that he wanted to utilize with those characters. And Gunn, yeah, I truly, honestly believe that he understands these characters just as well as anybody. And I think he's going to take them in a great direction and is going to be very different than what we were getting with Snyder. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And that's one thing people don't understand is we can't sit there and say that, oh, we only want what Snyder made. We only take a look at Marvel. We've been talking about Marvel for months and years now. They took what people liked about the comics and the characters in the comics, and then they adjusted it and they put their own spin on things. That's what they should be doing with the films, just as Zack Snyder did and just as James Gunn is going to do. To sit there and say, oh, neither one of them or this one gets it, this one doesn't, we won't know until we see it, but we have to allow them to put their own spin on the characters. And no, James Gunn is not going to go in there and do dick and fart jokes in a Superman movie because he knows the character. He understands the lore. Yes, Peacemaker was one thing. And granted, I don't agree with what he did with Vigilante, but it fit the tone of that show, and it is what it is. You take a look at the Suicide Squad. Those characters are meant to be somewhat wacky and edgy. And he went that route. It's fine. Take a look at Guardians of the Galaxy. They're goofy characters, but there's also some very, very serious tones in that film. Or films, I should say. So he understands how to tell a story. He understands how to build characters and build an arc. He's a damn good storyteller. Derpy, well, here's the thing. They have to be 24 to 26 range for the main characters. Possibly, yeah. Specifically the Trinity. Again, I think anything under 30, 32 probably is max, and below is probably what they're going to be looking for when it comes to characters for age, because they're going to want to sign these people on for 10 years or more. So yeah, that's probably what they're going to go for. And Derpy continues, honestly, I don't think anyone could have been chosen perfectly to be in charge of DC than James Gunn. After what he did with Suicide Squad, honestly, he's the image of what DC is with his characteristics as a person. And again, what do you do with Suicide Squad? It was his vision. He took a bunch of ragtag, characters and put them together, and he told a good story. It was a solid story. Whether you agree with how the story went or not, that's besides the point. But it was a good story. Again, he knows how to tell stories with an ensemble cast, with just single characters. He knows what he's doing. So I'm completely open-minded with this. Back to James Gunn's tweets. He continues after he says, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. But he does go on and say, but we just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. And that right there, I think, is very telling, because everybody wants to sit there and talk about all of the multiverse shenanigans that the DC universe can bring. And I think right now, James Gunn's like, no, we can't jump into that. Yeah, we're going to have the Flash movie this coming year that's going to delve into the multiverse. But I think he realizes, like, look, in the future, yeah, we can get into that. But right now, we need to solidify what our universe is. And I think that's what he's doing here. I think the discussion that he probably had with Cavill is like, hey, in the future, if, we have something that we can have a second Superman or bring in another Superman, what the hell? Come on back. And I'm sure Cavill will do it. Why the hell not? It just makes sense. I like Derpy here. He goes, and he knows the enemy's secrets in Marvel, as in the formula for the films. So this is something that I talked quite a bit about when they hired James Gunn after the announcement of that, yeah, he understands how Marvel has succeeded. He understands how Kevin Feige puts things together, which is a huge benefit, because Walter Hamada wasn't involved or knew what Marvel was doing, and Jeff Johns didn't, and John Berg didn't. These people didn't quite understand what was being built. And granted, if you want to build something different, you don't need to know that. But David Zaslav wants something very, very similar to what Marvel has built. Hunter Iggy, what about Aja Skarsgård? She is 30 years, same height as Gal. I mean, do you see Aja Skarsgård as Wonder Woman? Honestly, I don't know. I don't even know who that is. Let's see. I don't think she has the right look, but I honestly didn't think that Gal Gadot had the right look. So, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. When it comes to casting, it comes down to how they're going to write the character. This is a big thing that Marvel understands. Marvel understands is they write the character and then cast based off of that writing. They don't cast and then write the character around the actor. And I think that's a big thing to do. That's what they have to do here, because they're going to want to get a specific tone for everything. And we still don't know if Gal Gadot is going to be around or not. The speculation is that with them moving on from Superman, that she won't be. The speculation is that since Ben Affleck apparently only wants to direct DC films, that he's not Batman anymore. But the only actor we know for 100% certainty that is completely moved on is Henry Cavill right now. Now, that's not to say that the smart bet would be that everybody else is gone. I think that is the smart bet right now. But I think that's, it's what it is. I mean, there's no other way to go. And yeah, fan cast, man. Hunter, look, keep fan casting, keep coming up with names, keep thinking of people. And the one thing I always like to do when I fan cast is take a look at their previous work and see how it could fit into what they have done in their past. Have they done an action film that you can see that Wonder Woman in them or that Superman in them? Have they brought that presence to the screen? Those are a couple things that I like to look for. Derpy, and from what I saw James Gunn's Superman film, his focus is younger Clark Kent, but mostly the reporter aspect of Superman. And I don't know about you, Max Fleischer vibes while making it modern. So, I mean, I don't know if I missed a tweet or something where he said anything about the reporter aspect or specifically Clark Kent, but he does say in his tweets here, he does say our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life. So, yeah, I mean, if he's going to sit there and make a film about Superman earlier in his life, it just kind of makes sense that we're going to see more of, possibly him as a reporter and going on a beat and stuff like that. Max Fleischer vibes, possibly. I can't say for certain. I think we're not going to get those kind of vibes or understanding until we start to see footage or behind the scenes things of what they're making. And I think that's going to come, probably. My guess, the fact that he's writing this movie, now he does say it's in the initial stages, but it's 2022. Let's just speculate here. Let's say he gets this script done, finalized and approved by the end of January. They could fast track this, get it cast, get it thrown into production. They could get that all done and started by June or July. Maybe even sooner. But safe bet, June or July. They film that movie, takes till January. They could, theoretically, release a new Superman movie by Christmas 2024. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but being that this is the first thing that he's talking about, seeing that he's talking about they're going to be discussing the projects at the beginning of the new year, you have to believe that they are going to truly try and push things to go relatively quickly and get things out fast. There's nothing planned for DC besides Joker and the Batman universe stuff after 2023. And in this year, we've got Blue Beetle, we've got Shazam, we've got Aquaman, and we got Flash, all of which are part of the old Hamadaverse DCEU. So whether or not any of those kind of move over, I think that's going to be cleared up come January, February, when he starts to talk about the projects, what is connected, what isn't connected, and why we should go see those films. So I think that's going to be really important as well. But they need to have things planned for this DCU starting in 2024. I have to imagine that we'll get a full-fledged Superman movie end of 2024, if not early 2025. I can also see some TV shows and low budget, something small. Like, I think it would be brilliant to do like a Nightwing film, something that's not too expensive, think of the Netflix's Daredevil, but Nightwing, and make a movie out of that and release it come early 2024, March 2024. That's something that could be done. If it's not VFX heavy or anything, I think that's possible. I think it is possible. Let's see. Derpy says, if he's smart, he uses somewhat to degree of storyboards from the DC animated universe during the 90s and the 2000 eras that Paul Dini built. And look, what they did with that, with Justice League Unlimited, Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, those were fantastic. I love them. I grew up on those. I absolutely love them. And if they use that as a blueprint, that'd be great. But let's not be, let's not. We have to allow the artist to build. We have to allow him to make what he wants, and we shouldn't get ideas in our heads like, oh, they should do it this way, because it's not going to play out that way. Unfortunately, it'd be great if it did. If every one of us was like, we're on board with this idea, and then it happened, great. But I think James Gunn has an idea, a specific thing that he's going for, and the fact that they made a 10-year plan leads me to believe that they have a beginning, a middle, and end of this 10-year plan of some major event it's all going to lead to. So I think they already have their own blueprint for it. Give me Teen Titans movie similar to the 2004 show. That's what Derpy says. Yeah. I was never a big fan of the Teen Titans show. I mean, I watched it occasionally. I will say, I know Derpy says that's a no on the Teen Titans Go version. I don't mind the Teen Titans Go. I went and took my kids to the movie, the Teen Titans Go to the movies. I thought that was hilarious. But that's pretty much the extent of the Teen Titans that I watched. I did see the clip of their special where they had the Snyderverse in it. But yeah, I mean, look, I think right now the door is so wide open to what this DCU could be, wider than it's ever been for DC Studios, for DC Films. I think that is what we need to be excited about. Look, I loved Henry Cavill as Superman. I made video after video. I wrote articles for websites on why Superman, Man of Steel, Henry Cavill, all of that were the quintessential Superman things. I'm a huge fan of what Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder brought to film. But this is where I'm going to get a little controversial with some people, is the fact that the Snyderverse fandom is a big reason why this happened. The studio cannot be handcuffed. Artists cannot be handcuffed to solely what the audience is demanding. And don't get me wrong, what the Snyderverse fandom did with the Release the Snyder Cut movement was incredible. The fight for artistic integrity, the push and desire for Snyder to be able to finish his film and get it released, the money raised for suicide prevention, all of that was absolutely phenomenal, and it should never go unnoticed on the greatness that was achieved with the Release the Snyder Cut movement. But when the Restore the Snyderverse movement came in, things really changed and got toxic. Hunter, did you see my question? Let me take a look. The one about Skarsgård being Wonder Woman? Yeah, I talked about that. That's the last one I see there, Hunter. Yeah, I don't see anything else from you, Hunter. But that's when things got really, really sketchy with the fandom, because there was a lot of toxicity that kind of came out of the Snyderverse, Restore the Snyderverse fandom. Whether warranted or not, it happened. It happened. And a lot of Snyderverse fans don't realize that everything that they followed on social media was this. It was this big. Here's the DC universe, the fandom. The Snyderverse was like this. So everything that they were seeing on social media, all the fans, yay, excited for Snyderverse, or mad about things, they were only seeing a small picture, a small piece of that DC fandom. Yet they believe that, oh, everybody that they see online obviously wants the Snyderverse, obviously wants this, is obviously mad about this. And that's not the case. And DC David Zaslav, James Gunn, they see this. They know that. They understand how the Twitter things work, how the Twitter trends work. They know that it is simple. You can go to a website, type in hashtag restore the Snyderverse, and pay $20 to have it tweeted out 3,500 times by bots. It's possible. I'm not saying that that's what was done, but it is possible. Derpy, honestly, see, if James Gunn was smart, he would take or borrow from eras and maybe even the show intros, adapt them to screen to start the films. It would be so cool to see that by paying homage, all while making his own story for the characters. Again, yeah, I think that's great. And he does mention in a tweet that he made, I think it was earlier this week or late last week, that he knows he's not going to be able to please everybody, but he's going to take what has worked in the past while improving on things that did not work. And we have to trust that he's going to go that route. And I think he'll be good with that. Hunter, Glenn Powell as Aquaman. I know Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell was in Top Gun Maverick, right? Yeah, that's who that is. Yeah, I mean, why not? I could see him, but I mean, he's 34 years old. But yeah, I mean, I need to, we don't know what the role is going to ask for. There's different versions of Aquaman in the comics. Are we going to get one of those versions? What version will we get? Are we going to get something brand new, almost like Jason Momoa was? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think he fits the more traditional take, at least look-wise, of Aquaman. And if that's what they go with, if they go with the traditional take, I could see that being a possibility. Absolutely. All right. But back to why they had to essentially reboot or start anew. They had to, because if they didn't reboot, let's say they continued with Cavill as Superman, but didn't connect it to what Snyder made, there would be fans yelling, screaming, you need to connect it, restore the Snyderverse, restore the Snyderverse, restore the Snyderverse. Constantly. If it wasn't Cavill, if it's Miller, if it's Momoa, if it's whomever, if they continue with those characters in any form or fashion, people are going to hold out hope that, yeah, the Snyderverse can come back. And unfortunately, that just isn't the case. And here's a few reasons why. Zack Snyder is busy over at Netflix. He's got his Army universe. He's got his Rebel Moon universe. He's got some animated stuff going on over there. He's a busy man. And I'm not saying he couldn't fit into his schedule to come over and maybe do one or two projects for DC. But James Gunn and DC Studios should not be handcuffed, should not be held back because of what Snyder wants to do. Well, then you have fans saying, well, why can't he just do an Elseworlds thing? And that comes down to money, guys. David Zaslav is going to set aside X amount of money for DC Studios per year. They're trying to build a universe. Now, let's say DC Studios had 15 to 20 films in the bag already. I'm sure that's a possibility where they could have said, yeah, let's take some of those funds and give it to Snyder for an Elseworld story. I truly believe that had Batman 2 not been greenlit, the Penguin series not been greenlit, the Gotham's PD series, or whatever the hell they're doing on HBO or whatever for the Batman universe, if those weren't greenlit, they would not be happening under James Gunn. Joker 2, if it wasn't already in production and filming, it would not be happening under James Gunn. Because those are funds going to DC projects that he could have utilized and used for his universe that he's building. And being head of DC Studios, he's going to want to utilize as much money as he can to get this thing up and moving and running. Derpy, LOL, replied to a tweet for what Ben Affleck could be directing. Me hoping it's Batman. My response to it was cover of Arkham Asylum, and it has over 500 likes. LMAO. That would be dope. I think it'd be great. But you know what I think could work? Everybody says that they want to see Batfleck's movie. And we've heard bits and pieces from, Joe Manganiello, from Jay Oliva, even Affleck himself has talked, about it in very, very small amounts. Why not take and adapt his script to fit the new DCU? And then, because it was his vision, let him direct that. I just think that'd be a cool idea. Whether it can happen or not is besides the point. But getting back to it, you can't handcuff a studio as they wait for another filmmaker to come in and build and finish his story to be able to build a larger story. And that is one of the big reasons why the Snyderverse has to be put to bed in some form or fashion. I do. I think that that's what they would need to do. And that's what they're doing. And by not moving forward with Cavill, that's essentially saying the Snyderverse is done. You put it to bed. We have to. Because otherwise, you will constantly have toxicity and negativity and yelling and screaming for restore the Snyderverse from now until the end of time. And I'm not saying we're not going to see that now. But here's the thing. The majority of those fans who were calling for the Snyderverse, I'll say over 80%, over 80% of them are going to happily buy tickets to go see the next Superman movie, to see a Green Lantern movie, to see the next Justice League movie. You'll have a very small fraction of that. Of the rest, we'll say the other 15%, very small fraction of that will silently go buy tickets and watch those movies and support it. And then even a smaller fraction of that are going to be the ones online trying to rile up everybody to restore the Snyderverse. And even part of the 80% of fans are still going to tweet it out. But that toxicity, that hatred, that anger isn't going to be there anymore because they're going to be just as happy going and watching these other films. James Gunn and David Zaslav know this. They know that this is going to be something that comes over the next few years, few months. Zeverfett made a great post today. He tweeted at James Gunn, James Gunn did this so that all of the disappointment and shock will be out of everybody's system by the time he is ready next month to unveil his reboot. He's just waiting on people to start fan casting Superman and trying to guess what his S logo will look like. He nails it right there. Zeverfett nails it. And if you haven't checked out Zeverfett stuff, he's great. Him and the Four Nerds, Nicotine, all of them, they're great. Check them out. But he nails it on the head. That is why the earlier you do it, the quicker you get this done, the quicker you unveil this stuff, the more time you have for the fans to accept it. Doing it at the beginning of 2023, so by when 2024 comes around, and the films and the projects, TV shows, everything starts coming out connected, everybody's going to be, or a mass majority of everybody is going to be accepting of what it is. It's a smart play. James Gunn is doing exactly what a strong, smart leader of a company would do. He's making the hard decisions. He's confronting the naysayers, the haters. And he's preparing everybody. It's exactly those people who are sitting there saying he can't run a company, he's not capable of running the company. He's proving he can. In the past month and a half that he's been running this company, this studio, if that, I don't even think it's been that. It's been, 3 weeks really. He's proven that he can run this company. And he's done a damn good job of it. Derpy is honestly all for that. I'm guessing you're talking about my pitch for Ben Affleck to do his Batman script in the new DCU. What I heard, his film was based on the game. Yeah, from what I understand, if I'm not mistaken, it had some. It was influenced, not necessarily based, but it was influenced off of some elements of the Arkham games, kind of the fighting style and everything like that. Derpy, give me David Mazouz's Mazouz. I've never been able to say his name. Is Dick Grayson, Robin, and Sadie Sink as Barbara Gordon Batgirl. Everybody's on this Sadie Sink train right now because of her role over on Stranger Things, and she's done a damn good job over on Stranger Things. But sure, again, I mean, she's got red hair, right? Is that what you're looking for? Red hair? She's got red hair. She's a redhead. I don't know. Look, this is the fun part. You just start throwing out names. Some will begin to stick. Some will start, we will probably have Boss Logic and other people starting to make art based off of these fan casts. That's what's going to be fun. That's the kind of stuff I truly love and enjoy in these situations. I remember back in 2013, 2014, as we were starting to question who they're going to cast as Batman, and there's names thrown out there like John Hamm and some others. There were some names thrown out there like, really whoever played Thanos, whatever his name was that played Thanos, was thrown out there. There was a lot of names thrown out there. Then you had people throwing out names for Lex Luthor. All these things were going around, and it was so much fun. And then whenever it came out, it's Ben Affleck, the internet exploded. Most people were pissed off, but I was excited, and so were a lot of other people. But that is so much fun. I loved that build-up. I love that build-up for new content. Yeah, I know who David Mazouz is. I know he played Bruce Wayne on Gotham. And yeah, I mean, if he wanted to, sure. Why not? Why not, Derpy? Why not? Dacre Montgomery is Superman. I want him to be the Red Ranger still. I want him to stick with the Power Rangers. I really wish they would have continued that franchise. That was a damn good movie. Didn't get enough love and credit, damn it. I wanted them to continue that movie. We're going to take kind of a back seat from the Superman stuff right now. And I want to talk a little bit more about that Patty Jenkins stuff. And it kind of does come into this because I've seen people posting on social media, on Twitter specifically, that James Gunn kind of bamboozled and was rude to the writers and to the directors. And where does anybody see that? That whole thing that came out about Patty Jenkins, leaving Wonder Woman, walking away, and then her coming out and saying, I didn't walk away. That was a really bad look for her. Because her walking away, if that's the story they stuck with, if she would have stuck with that, her walking away would have just been like, look, there was creative differences, and she felt that creatively she could not fit in with what James Gunn wanted to do, so she walked away. Now what it seems like is that she got fired from DC, and that looks bad for her. Let's not all act like Wonder Woman 84 was a masterpiece. It was anything but a masterpiece. It was trash. It was garbage. James Gunn doesn't want any more of that. They saw the script that her and Jeff Johns wrote for Wonder Woman 3, and they didn't like it. It didn't fit in with what they were doing. Why would he then stick around and say, look, we want you to write the next, we still want you here. Do this. It's better to, when you start fresh, you start fresh. He had conversations with her. And it wasn't just her. He had conversations with Ben Affleck. He mentions it on Twitter. He's talking with these filmmakers, these writers. He's talking with them. He's having conversations with them. But let's not forget, he is the Kevin Feige of DC now. Just as Kevin Feige has let go directors, has not hired writers or directors because their vision doesn't line up with his, that's what James Gunn is going to do. As he has the right to do. No director is guaranteed a job. No writer is guaranteed a job in Hollywood. Why is this fandom? Why? And again, it does stem from the Snyder fandom. I'm not saying everybody in the Snyderverse is like this. I'm friends with quite a few people who are fans of Snyder's work. But there's a large portion of the Snyderverse fandom who have this misconception that, oh, well, Patty made Wonder Woman 1, Wonder Woman 2. She has to make 3. That's not how it works. Even with Henry Cavill, before we got the news that he was leaving, that he was being replaced, people were like, well, we don't want Henry Cavill Superman without Zack Snyder. That's not how it works. You take a look at other Superman or superhero movies. Jon Favreau made Iron Man what he is today. I don't care what anybody says. He and Robert Downey Jr., if it wasn't for the two of them working together, Iron Man would not be what he is today. He made the second one. The second one didn't do too hot. He had some issues with Kevin Feige. So they brought Shane Black in. Granted, I'm not a big fan of that movie, but another director took over. And the character continued and was then directed by the Russo brothers multiple times. You see, you don't need their directors aren't guaranteed jobs. They're not guaranteed to stick around and play with the same toys over and over again. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe not. Look, I loved Henry Cavill. I'm going to miss him as Superman. I am. He was great in the role. Man of Steel, to this day, is my favorite superhero film. Personally, I think it is the greatest origin movie for a Superman character. You know, here's the kicker. I kind of want to do something here. Because, again, this is all speculation. Right? Speculation time. Who doesn't love some speculation? But we're back to the James Gunn tweets here. And he specifically mentions, among those on this slate is Superman. It's in the initial stages. Our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life. Not saying that this is the route they're going to go, but why couldn't they axe Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel still be the first Superman origin movie in this, and they just recast so they have somebody younger to move forward with? It sounds crazy, I know, and it's not what's going to happen, but I'm just saying, just thinking out loud here. It's just because my love of Man of Steel, really. I just love Man of Steel that much. It's the greatest superhero origin movie out. It's just plain and simple. Plain and simple. You know, it's pretty crazy. Avatar: The Way of Water kind of releases tonight in most places. Really, tomorrow's the release date. And you can see it's trending on Twitter right now. But right underneath, Superman and James Gunn are trending as well. And that's pretty huge. I mean, Avatar is supposed to be like the biggest movie of all time. And Superman and James Gunn are being talked about as much, if not more so, which is pretty cool. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, I got Twitter up, before we start to wind down here. And again, Derpy, and thank you so much for talking. Hunter, thank you so much for chiming in on all this stuff. This is a huge moment for DC, and I think a lot of people don't quite grasp that because they're allowing their emotions to rule what they feel and how they should react. And I think you need to sit back. I think be upset. Yeah, it sucks that Cavill's gone. But in the grand scheme of things, when you truly, truly think about it, you have to just get excited about all the possibilities of what can come from a brand new DC slate. It's exciting. Here's a good question from Mick Minus over on Twitter. He goes, y'all think this movie will happen? I mean, he retweeted this from Aqua Turtle. Constantine 2. I mean, that was something that was announced, and sadly, I don't think it's going to happen at this point. This is something I heard about Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves about 3 years ago. maybe 2.5 years ago or so. And then it kind of went away for a while, and then it came back up just a few months ago that it was going to happen. I don't think it is. I think because it's been on the block for so long to be made and no real movement has ever come from it, I don't think it's happening. Plus, it's not going to fit in with what James Gunn is doing. Everything has to fit in with what he's doing. Remember that. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, I got. What do we got here? Okay. Well, here. Let's. This is something I haven't done yet. I haven't read the Henry Cavill remarks, and let's just go over that. I've just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October, prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. Class act. Cavill is 100% class act right there. For those who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember, Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape is past, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. Again, class act. He's absolutely upset. And something that a lot of people don't get, and I even made this comment when it happened. When he left The Witcher, we all believed that it was for Superman. There's never been confirmation of that. If that's the case, that's pretty shitty because, well, yeah. I mean, he doesn't have either one now. What do we think about Black Adam? Do we think we're going to see a second Black Adam? I don't think we're going to now. I think this pretty much solidifies that The Rock worked on a film for 15 years to get a movie out for 15 years, and it didn't do what everybody wanted, and it's done. It's it. We're not going to see this iteration of Black Adam ever again. Whether they bring The Rock back to play Black Adam or not in the new DCU is to be seen, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much bad blood between The Rock's team and what James Gunn is doing. So I think that's it. I think we're done, which kind of really helps Shazam a little bit. Now, the only thing that really hurts Shazam moving forward is the connections that it has to what Zack Snyder created in the first Shazam movie, where there's newspaper clippings and the battering and stuff like that. That's very much connected to what Zack created. But you might be able to work around that and keep that version of Shazam going. Although rumor has it that Gal Gadot is in Shazam 2, and if that's the case, I think Zach Levi's Shazam is done. What do we think the slate is going to be? What do we think it's going to be? We're going to see Superman, obviously, Batman movie, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman. What are we going to see over the next few years? It's going to be hard to do a Batman movie. And that's kind of been my big issue with all of this Matt Reeves Batman stuff. Because you realistically can't, just to not confuse the general audience, you can't have two solo Batman franchises going at the same time. Which means most likely the Batman that we get is going to be a supporting character in other films until the Matt Reeves Batman is over. Which, if you ask me, they should just end it now. The movie was boring as shit. I like every Batman film to some degree. Even Batman and Robin. Even Batman Forever. I just don't see it with the Batman. I don't see why people look at that as a decent or good film. I think I'm going to start wrapping it up here. It's a crazy time for being a DC fan. 100%. I cannot tell you. It was a roller coaster of emotions last night for all of us. But what's going to bring us out the other side is acceptance, is excitement. Get to where you were in 2014. Get to where you were when all there was hope and excitement and intrigue, speculation. That's where we all need to be again. There's no guarantee that what James Gunn creates is going to be better than what Zack created. There's no guarantee that's going to be better than what Hamada has done with the 3 or 4 movies that he put out. But this is still the right move. It is. It's the right move. There's no other move that this studio could make. No other move this studio can make. Because the backlash would be there no matter what. And it's, do you want the backlash to dwindle away? Or do you want it to be there forever? They chose right. Derpy, but you're right. If they're smart, they should cancel the Reeves universe. I think they should. I do. Look, I maybe you liked it, Derpy. Maybe you liked the Batman. I don't know. I didn't. I fell asleep in the theater. I fell asleep during a Batman movie. How do you fall asleep during a Batman movie? Like, just doesn't. I don't get it. Maybe they will. Maybe they will end up canceling it. It's not in production yet. It's in pre-production. I think he's still tinkering with the script. I think he's a little more concerned of the terrible idea of a Penguin show that they're doing with Colin Farrell. That's just stupid. He wasn't even the most interesting character in that boring-ass film. Honestly, the runtime isn't what got me because I fell asleep. I don't know the moment I fell asleep, but I know when I woke up. And I woke up when the explosion happened during the funeral. So I don't know how far into the movie that was, but I fell asleep for probably a decent amount of time before then because I was completely lost. I had no idea what the hell was going on. So I don't know what happened before that. The noir aspect was cool, but you could still make it an enjoyable, fun, exciting movie, not so damn gloomy and boring. This isn't about Batman, though. This isn't about the Batman and Matt Reeves. This is about Superman. This is about Henry Cavill. Thank you, Henry Cavill. Thank you for all that you've done, for all that you brought in the Superman role. Thank you so much. Zack Snyder, thank you for those 3 amazing films that you created with Henry Cavill, with the cast that you brought in. We have those. We will always have those. We'll always be able to go back to them. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that. But onward and upward. As Henry Cavill said, onward and upward. Yeah, I called Zack Snyder out to call off his hounds, to call off his fans. I think he should. I think he should come out and support James Gunn. I think he should. I think that'll definitely help in the long run. But right now, onward and upward. I cannot wait to see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. There's so much to speculate on. There's so much to get excited about. The DCU is just about to... It's almost here, guys. Almost here. Thank you so much for listening, watching, tuning in, all that jazz. Thank you so much. Make sure if you're somebody who can't get to us live, we do have a podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that jazz. Bridging the Geekdoms. Find us there. Listen to us while you're driving home, to and from work, whatever it is. You can find all that stuff if you just scan the QR code right on the screen right now. But if you can, when we have live shows, jump on. comment, discuss. I love talking with everybody. It was great talking with Derpy and talking with Hunter Iggy on here. It was great to have some back and forth. I love doing that. It's a lot of fun. Let us know in the comments what you think of what happened. But with all that said, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to all of you later.